Here's a full parts breakdown of my chicken walker. Alright, so we should start at the bottom. They are your feet. The magnet holes, 10mm magnets. So there's a steel plate. The idea of this thing tipping over is frightening. So my one has two 10mm magnets per foot, and I filled the cavity of this with sand just to give it more weight. It can self-support itself, but I wouldn't do it. Right, so we got here all your toes, all your pins. It makes up your feet. So if we start this end, this is your first leg of your whole setup. So I've numbered them. 1, 2, 3, 4 foot. So they're your first, those are your lugs into your second leg, lugs into your body, and they're your pins. On my one, I don't glue them. They sit in there, they just lock in with those, and you can actually take the legs apart by just popping the pins. Legs come off if you want to shift it, transport it, or whatever. So I wouldn't glue them. They were set for split, so when you screwed the bottom, they'd open up and lock it. But I don't think it needs it. Those shims I've just added, and they go in here, and there you can probably see it. You can see it in there, and that locks how it sits because the head is so heavy. It had a tendency to tip forward. So the shims lock it into place. If you take the shims out, the head's in a duped down position. Like if you want it aiming at the ground, I wouldn't use shims. If you want it to sit upright, use the shims. Alright, so we got the second leg. Just made up those pieces. The setup. So an FDM printer can print them, so they all have like flat bottoms. The only one that doesn't have a flat bottom has that little lug there, but you could support that. So majority like are set up for FDM, all of these. And like there's an option too, like on the fourth leg there's little rivets that go on the top there. But I've got some shaved off so you could lay them flat on your printer, but if you resin print them, I've got files that are for resin which will have those in place. So that's your second leg, your third leg. And again, I've separated it, so if you do FDM print it, you can sand your bulk bodies and then add your greeblies on later, because if you had to sand around these, it'd be a freaking nightmare. So that leg there, your third leg. That one there. And the detail you get with individual pieces, I think, is a little bit better. It gives it a sense of separation. You got your springs, your locking in nuts, which are those. It's your fourth leg. Like the pins that hold these in, probably not necessarily, but they're locking key pins so you know exactly where they go. Those are your square lugs. Go through there to lock in your feet. And I've gone to locking in your feet. The original model, this one here's my first prototype, is all bolt together, tight and to fit to get your stance right. But the weight of this thing is crazy. And I don't think, when I didn't want to tighten it up to a point I was going to snap parts, that the thing would just slowly not support itself. It would just, the weight's immense. So I've come along on this next version and I made shit square, so it just locks it into place. I think you lose, well, you could do it. You could position it still if you. I'll leave the files in there that I used on this one, and you can bolt them and change it. But like, you still get a movable head. You can move your guns wherever you like. Same as the side weapons. But I personally would lose. I'd keep the square lugs. It just locks it into place, and you'd be more secure for it. Alright, so we go this way. You've got the cockpit. There are all the parts for that. That's your underside, your neck ring, some side armour plating. It's your neck. Now this is your hatch underneath it. I've added a spring under my one. I should actually make one out of plastic, so yeah, I might do that. That's for your handle. So that opens, there's your handle, goes in there. This is all modelled off what they used in the Empire Strikes Back Walker, which was way more detailed, and they just dumbed it down for Return of the Jedi. So you got your left side weapon, guns, front main guns. You got like a selection of eyelids that give you different profiles. I got my one is set to that, but if you wanted to, you can have them drooping down a tad. There's like a locking, so it sits and locks to match the hole in the roof. And I've added extra locating lugs, these square lugs that fit into there, and it just locks it in nicer compared to my first version. This one has the 80 guys in there, because this version is going to be slightly different, because this is prototype 2, which is pretty close to being finished. And these have the proper indoor 80 drivers, 80 SD drivers. Again, I've separated the back, easier sanding if you FDM it, but it's just nice to build shit, so separated into your back vents, your right weapon, your plates, and onto your body. Which is funny, a lot of these parts are off a Ferrari model kit. So I just went and found the kit and tried to mimic what they were using. That's the back. Now these meshes that fit in behind here, there's not really much shots of it ever actually being like that, but it does add a little bit of detail to it, so they're actually there. This is your main kit, but there's an optional extra which this kit's going to be made in, and that's with a different type of armament. adding a few rotary cannons, a magazine pack. I'll show you how that sits. So these magazines have like a slot at the bottom for the feeder, and they're going to be attached about there. And these side pods, chain guns will be there, and the magazine will exit here and then go into the box magazine. Now they're designed after the Clone Wars rotary cannon. The clone troopers used to wield around, so they all have a sense of connection. That's not going to focus. Anyway, that's got the same detail. And they are the original 2 guns. I've just turned them into a 3-barrel rotary gun. These are on the files as individual links, and they're just joined together with this one here is nylon, so it's quite flexible, and that will twist and bend to go from this point to this point. This one I've made with copper wire running through it. I'm just going to figure out which one's better, but when you download the file, there's like they're individual links. Focus. They're individual links, and there's about 120 of them. That might change if this is not long enough. I'll just add more, or you only get one link. You just times it by 120 and individually print them off, and it's well positionable. Alright, so all the pipes are not included. They're just cables, wires, anything you want to use. It's a lot easier. All the holes are there. That's a Lego one. All the holes are there for you to position the pipes wherever you want, as with the underneath. And then you got the one that comes in between the back radiators. All the separation just gives it just an air of more detail. It's a beast of a thing to have. So it should sit around 500 high. When I glued my legs, this one here is a little bit steeper than where I'd liked it, but I glued it and that's where it sits. This one here the angle of this leg will sit slightly lower. Slight angle, but not as steep as this one. I did find out by doing it under this angle, if I just sit it without the tin, it won't sit up. And it needs the magnets, but it's not going to go anywhere. The magnets hold it. It's the weight alone. With the magnets, it's very sturdy. But yeah, these ones slightly less. Alright, if you do download the file, I hope you enjoy it. It's a beast of a file. If you like model kits, you'll love this one. And the amount of hours in research and trying to get shit right, because there's so many different variations. This is pretty much as close as I can get. Hope you enjoy.